bicycle that I mentioned many times. The goal is to ride the bicycle, to actually ride it, not to analyze it, not to write about it. You could have people analyze the whole entire integrity of a bicycle. Why it has a rear derailleur, for example. Why it has a front derailleur. What kind of tires are they? Are they clincher tires or are they tubular tires? How many spokes does the wheel have? What's the diameter of the threading of the bottom bracket? What's the diameter of the seat post that goes into the frame? What kind of seat do you have? What kind of pedals do you have? Are you going to wear cleats that snap onto the pedals? Or are you going to have a pedal with a toe strap, which is what most people do? So you can have endless conversations about the bicycle. I used to own bicycle shops. So the people that would come in, most of them were enthusiasts of bicycles. It was a place where people they came for to buy things and have things repaired, of course, but they also came for the social atmosphere of other riders, people like themselves, and they talked about bicycles. I could, if I was with a bicycle enthusiast, I could talk for hours about bicycles. There's very little that I don't know about bicycles, because I studied it and I did it for 30 years. But still, we haven't ridden a bicycle. So the point is, you have to ride the bicycle. So we can talk for hours about the bicycle, how to ride it, but none of us have actually ridden it. Now, this is what happens with Kriya Yoga when it's taught to groups of people. It is not a group practice at all. If it's taken to be a group practice, the whole point is being missed. The whole point is to go within. If the point is to go within, why do you need other people around you? It's much more difficult to go within if you have other people in the room with ideas, their thoughts, which you can feel as you start to slow down your own thoughts. You'll also be other people's thoughts, because you're going into a sensitive realm very quickly as you start to practice the Kriyas. And so then you're sensitive to the thoughts of others in the room. You might not understand exactly what they're saying, but the thought is there. It's a sound wave. It's a vibration. And that makes it difficult for you to meditate. Well, some say, well, I meditate so much better when I have other devotees around me, around you supporting group meditation. And you feel motivated to attend the group meditation. It's the same way as any worldly thing. Like going to the gym, for example. Let's say I want to get into shape. I want to have an athletic body. I want to shape my muscles, lose weight. And I'm working out at home. But I'm tempted by the refrigerator. I'm tempted by the fattening foods, the carbohydrates, the sugars. And then my equipment to exercise with is right there. It's a convenience, but I'm inclined not to do it. But if you go to the gym is an environment for working out. As soon as you walk in the door, you're inspired to work out because everybody's working out. Everybody's exercising. Treadmills, stair climbers, bench presses, squats, deadlifts, dumbbell curls. People are doing all sorts of athletic practices. And so you feel extremely motivated to practice yourself. That's the only purpose of getting together in groups to meditate. Now, I've done a lot of meditation as groups. Um, the thoughts of others doesn't disturb me, because if you sit to meditation, of course you're aware of your thoughts, but your thoughts are becoming more subtle. Because they're more subtle, it's like let's say I'm talking on the telephone, and Archana's talking to somebody else, and she's close by, and she's speaking really loud. And I'm trying to have a conversation with someone on the telephone. I'm being distracted, and I can't hear exactly what's being said in my conversation. But if I was alone in a room having a conversation, my full attention would be on it. So the same way with group meditation, it's good because you're in an environment to practice, but it isn't good, and that it's not a good environment. You think it's a good environment because it motivates you to practice. So it is to get you together, but it's not a good environment for actual meditation, unless you have progress in your meditation to the point, which is easy to do, to the point to where you can easily go within. Now, going within, what does that mean? It means that you place your attention where your guru told you to place your attention. The different gurus of Kriya Yoga tell you to place your attention in different places. The one you should place your attention on in Kriya Yoga is the Agni chakra, in the eyebrows, right there. That's where you should place your attention. But Paramahansa Arananda, who was a direct disciple of Sri Yukteswar and a fellow disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda, meaning they worked together, they knew each other. He tells you to put your attention on the fountain, which is here. I've never heard that associated with Kriya Yoga before. It isn't a good way to practice. It's not a bad way to practice, but it's not the best way to practice. Best way to practice is here. Totapuri, who initiated Ramakrishna to Dvait Vedanta, told Ramakrishna to put his attention there. And it's in the Gospel of Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna talking about his time with Totapuri, and specifically about the time when Totapuri initiated him into Vedanta, and immediately Ramakrishna went into Samadhi. And it was a Savakalpa Samadhi, which means that there were still visions. So immediately, the vision of Kali, Divine Mother, appeared. And as lovely as she is, you have no inclination or desire to go beyond that. Why would you? You're with somebody who's just the personification of love and beauty. You forget about going higher in meditation, so you stop there, and that's you stop, and you stop there practically forever, unless you have a guru like Totapuri to help you to go higher. And that's the purpose of a guru, is to help you achieve a higher level of consciousness. Because we don't have the experience to help us. The guru has the experience of higher dimensions, higher realities, higher sets of consciousness. So he easily sees that you're stuck. And how to unstuck you, how to unstick you. Now, if you're willing, then the guru can do that. So for Kriya Yoga to be the airplane route to be really progressively powerful, the guru is absolutely necessary. A living guru, not books about a divine guru that you never met, but the actual guru. Same as using the analogy of a bicycle. I say there's people that come into the bicycle shop, my bicycle shop, and there's rows and rows and rows of brand new bicycles, all different types, mountain bikes, triathlon bikes, time trial bikes, cross bikes, city bikes, cruisers. So there's all types of bikes for all types of interests in cycling. And then you have wheels, you have all the clothing, you have shoes, and you go into that environment of bicycles. And the whole point of a bicycle is to what? Is to ride the bicycle. There's nothing like riding a bicycle. It's really a way of freedom, because you feel free. You feel like you're flying through the air on your bicycle, and you can observe everything that goes by very, very well. And then your heart rate is elevated. Your whole body is being invigorated from the cycling, and it's all very, very smooth and very easy. You can change the gears to a lower gear if you are going up a hill. So your chain wheel in the front is usually a 42, 53. So you put it into 42, and then the cogs on the back, you put it into a 28 or a 30 or even a 32. And then you can easily climb the steepest hill because of the gears. But all of that has to be learned. And you can sit at a chalkboard and somebody can explain the whole entire thing. But you never done it, and you can't do it. Even though you know how to do it, you can't. Because it requires the doing. You can understand it, but you can't do it. Even if you thoroughly understand it, you're going to have trouble doing it. Because understanding it and then actually doing it, there's a whole learning curve on the doing that is totally applied only if you're doing. Nothing in theory. Why can't human beings who want spiritual realization or just higher states of consciousness, why can't they understand such a simple thing? Well, because there's so many biases, there's so many dogmas that people have, especially in spiritual learning. Look at Islam, for example, the radical Islam. If you don't believe in Allah, they have every right to kill you. If you don't convert, they will kill you. These are the radical us. That's how severe it can go. People get angry in Kriya Yoga, and they really get angry and argumentative, and they get your blood pressure goes up, their heart rate goes up. If you suggest or if you say anything about Kriya Yoga that is not exactly what they heard about Kriya Yoga, which is not an open mind at all. I told the story of when I went to Rajori Gardens. I lived in Rajori Gardens after the supplement. Strangely, after that, when I lived in the house where their headquarters was located in the basement of my house. When I first came to India, I was invited to give satsang. on the podium at the house that after this I started to give satsang to all the people of Ananda, friends and relatives, whoever wanted to come and listen about Kriya Yoga. And that sounds nice. Talk about Kriya Yoga from most probably a different perspective. It's always good to have different perspectives. As I say, this is why it's so important. I say, you have a mountain we have. The Himalayas are right here, and they surround us. And there's particular mountains. Some of them are really high, and then they have peaks. And so every single day, I look at this one particular mountain from my perspective. Every single day, day after day after day after day, week after week, month after month. And so I feel that I really know that mountain, don't I? But there's other people. At night, you can see there's a house right on the very top of this extremely high mountain. What is their perspective of the mountain? We're both looking at the same mountain, but their perspective is different. So, in Kriya Yoga, there's nothing wrong to listen to the perspective of others. It actually helps you expand your idea of what you're seeing into a more of a whole, because now you're getting a perspective of the top of the mountain. Maybe the person invites you. You go to the top of the mountain, and then you have that perspective. You have the original perspective. And then while you're up there, because we just recently, a while back, went to an ashram of a perfect master. Originally a perfect master. The perfect master's not there. And we went up this, how mountain roads are, one lane usually, or just enough room for two cars to pass. And that gave me much more perspective of the mountain. So after all this experience of the mountain, when I wake up in the morning here now, I see my original perspective, but in my mind's eye, I see more of the mountain. Because those impressions of the mountain that I saw, it formed impressions, so now I automatically see more of the mountain. So I was invited to give satsang, and the people in charge of Ananda, they're were violently, and I don't mean nicely, but I mean violently against it. They did not like me at all. They detested me, actually. And they said, he is not going to give satsang here. Not tonight, not ever. And they were angry about it. Why is that? Because they're stuck on their perspective, and they're not gonna have anything other than that. If you introduce another perspective, they're going to shut you down. I don't even want to hear it, is what they say. I don't even want to have it thought about your perspective at all, because it'll destroy my perspective. It doesn't destroy it. It enhances your perspective. I've had personal meetings with practitioners of every single Kriya Yoga that you can imagine, initiations of all the different types of initiations of Kriya Yoga that people have received, and so I associate, and I talk to, and they talk to me, and I ask them questions also. Is any of that harmful to me in any way? No, not at all, because it's all connected. It's all, you're wearing a necklace of gold, and then you have little charms on it, like a giraffe, and a monkey, and a tiger, and birds and different things, and they're all made out of gold. Somebody who works in jewelry, who sees gold as a monetary value, but also appreciates the transition of gold made into jewelry. But what he sees, because he buys and sells gold, is he sees gold. He doesn't see the tiger and the giraffe and the monkey and the elephant made out of gold, the charms on the gold. He just sees gold. So we also have to be that way. We have to see everything as gold. We have to recognize Kriya Yoga from all different perspectives than ours. But then we understand that there's much more to Kriya Yoga than what we think. Isn't that good? To go beyond your thinking or beyond your experience. It's important to go beyond your experience also, isn't it? Then your experience will be more vast. But what you understand when you listen to other perspectives is that it's not harming me. It's helping me in that I'm seeing what's being described as Kriya Yoga. So Kriya Yoga is the point, is the essence. And I'm seeing all the different ways that that's applied, the way that's taught, but it's all Kriya Yoga. And then you see all of those things. It's not being important, but being very superficial and used as an example, a type of practice. But the practice itself is unimportant because it's not the experience of the essence of God, the essence of Atma. And this essence, your essence, as Atma, and God's essence as Paramatma. Once you have that experience, all of those little stepping stones, which are all mental stepping stones, just to get you in the right frame of mind and to give you some knowledge, and put them away. You can throw them away. Because then you can sit for meditation and you can immediately go into a higher state of consciousness. But that requires that you practice every day. Deep, serious practice every day. And you take it seriously and you really apply it with all your might and all your heart. And that's what's required. It is absolutely required. I also gave the example of, it's been many years now, I sold a house in Florida and then was looking for a good house, a nice house, preferably brick, something that wouldn't require a lot of maintenance because it's made out of brick. It was something in a small town. I'd always lived in big cities, always. Never didn't live in a big city. But this time chose a good house in a small town where the value of the house is very high. Taxes, property taxes are low. Upkeep of the house is low. And to buy a house without a mortgage, just to pay cash for it. Because I sold the house in Florida for 3 times what I paid for it. And so this is what happened. Looking for the ideal house, looking in ads, and then going to the actual town and driving and going to look at those houses. Now that's an example of direct experience, isn't it? It's an example of the process of buying the right house for you, because you have different things, different requirements in your mood. Everybody does. So you could look at a picture and say, and just buy the house over the internet. You can do that. But then you go to look at the house, and it's completely different than the picture. The picture was staged. The picture was enhanced. The picture didn't show the houses next to you. Didn't show the neighborhood. But if you go in person to look for yourself, you see the whole reality of the house. You can go into the house. You can see if it's livable for you. What kind of shape it is, what kind of neighborhood it is, what kind of neighbors you have. So Kriya Yoga requires direct experience, not a theory, not thought, not ideas, but direct experience. You go directly to Atma and your connection with Atma, which is your own self. That's why it's called self-realization. Immediately elevates your consciousness. And elevating your consciousness is what takes you out of this terrible plane that you're in, which is called Earth. It's one of the worst places to live in the entirety of creation. One of the most difficult places to live is where we are. And we're trying to have happiness, bliss, safety. We're trying to have all of those things in a world that doesn't have any of that permanently. You can have episodes of it. You can have experiences of it here and there, but never you can never have it for your entire life. When you first start out as an adult and you go to get a job, and different jobs pay different amounts, and maybe the job doesn't it pays your expenses, but doesn't quite cover other things like if you wanted to go out of town and if you wanted to go on a road trip and visit another place, stay at hotels, cost of gasoline, those things. So you aspire to increase your income. And you can do that either with the job that you have. You can move up the ladder. If you work on commission, you can find ways to increase your commission. Or you can get another job that you like better and that pays better. Because now you're experienced. You worked at this job for a low pay, but now you have the experience to apply for a better paying job because now you have experience. So all of this applies to Kriya Yoga. I found that everything in the world, everything in nature is teaching you how to have self-realization, teaching you what's required. So there's a little magazine that has it's just about houses that are for sale, and of course it's put together. And we looked at this little magazine and it has pictures of the houses, and we said, put a check mark on this one because this one looks like it's has potential. It might be good. You eliminate many of the others, and you find it maybe 3 that have the potential of being the right house. So the house that's in the U.S. right now, I'm talking about the process of buying that house. In the magazine, it looked really, really good. But then driving there in person, looking at it in person, the neighborhood was good, but there was a school very close by, and I had the idea in my mind that I didn't want to live close to a school because it would be a lot of traffic, it would be a lot of noise, and so we checked it off just because of the school, the proximity of the school. And we looked at other houses, and we thought of the impression that we had of this house, because the impression of the house itself was fantastic. But the only negative was the school. I thought it was a negative. That was my bias. So nothing else was as good as that house. So went and took a second look. And immediately I made an offer to buy the house. Because now I made a decision to buy the house. What would you do? You're living in another town. Well, obviously you would take photographs so that when you get back to where you're staying, you can look at the photographs and you can learn more about the house, because you can do it in your leisure. So I took photographs of the entire house, all the rooms, all the angles from the outside, and spent 2 weeks. It took 2 weeks before all the paperwork could be signed and take ownership of the house. So we would look at all the photographs every day, sometimes 3 times a day, and really study the photographs to learn about this big purchase we made for 2 weeks. And then went to the closing and given the keys to the house, went into the house, started to move all of our furniture into the house, and spent the first night in the house. Several days went by because we were arranging furniture. And it occurred to me, we haven't looked at those pictures, not even once. We were so enthusiastic looking at them every day. But now, why would we even look at a picture? First of all, it'd be ridiculous. Why look at a picture when you have the house right there? And then I found out that the school was actually not a negative, it was a plus, because the experience of having a school close by is really nice. It's a place of learning. In the winter, they have a band. They play football, and the cheerleaders are practicing. The band is practicing. Children coming and going. It's all very pleasant. It was all very nice. So what I thought was a negative, and it would actually, I'm not buying the house because of this. It was actually turned out to be a real enjoyable positive. But now I have direct experience, meaning the house. Actually living in the house. Why do I need the photographs anymore? So with Kriya Yoga, talking with other people, meetings, lectures, talking about Yogananda's books, listening to people with different degrees of experience and understanding of what Yogananda's history and what he's saying in the books, and getting together as groups, singing, probably some visualization, meditations together, simple things. But now you've been initiated into Kriya Yoga. Initiation is simple. It isn't hard to learn how to practice Kriya Yoga. It's very easy, extremely easy. So now you have the Kriya Yoga to practice and go within, which is the point. To ride the bicycle is the point. Living in the house is the point. So now you're living in the house. Now you're riding a bicycle. Everything that you were utilizing in the past, you had no need for whatsoever at all. Nothing. It's not needed. It's not helping in any way, because you have the house. If you want to know something about Kriya Yoga, go within. Achieve pratyahara. You've been taught how to, and then go deep within Atma. And all the answers are there. Why would you talk? Why would you get advice or talk to somebody else who's never been there and doesn't have a great understanding because they've never been there, and get advice from them or get motivation from them? Either you have the motivation or you don't. Kriya Yoga is not motivation practice. If you don't have the motivation, why are you even being initiated into Kriya Yoga? That makes some sense. It isn't a practice that I'm initiated and then someday I'll get around to it. I'll get around to the practice. And someday I really see the value of it, and then I'll practice. Now I'm too old. I can't sit on the floor. My joints are hurting me. My back and neck are hurting me. I should have practiced right then, right after initiation. So it's very strongly emphasized that at the time of initiation, that you start practicing Kriya Yoga now. Right now, right then. And you continue to practice right then. At the time of initiation, you continue. You don't stop practicing. And you find that it's easier and you get better results if you don't go out of your way to associate with worldly people. And worldly people aren't bad people. It's just that they're thinking and they're doing things that they enjoy doing and they want to do, but it isn't elevating. It doesn't elevate your consciousness because it's all things of the world. And all the things of the world keep your mind in the world, keep your soul in the world, keep your essence in the world. So much so that when you die, you want to come back. I enjoyed that life. Death took it away from me, so I want to come back. And so the soul does come back repeatedly. Not just hundreds of times, but thousands of times. This is the time that we're here right now. In our previous life, that was the time that we're here right now. So we feel that this is our life, not remembering how many lives that we had previously. And so it can continue that way. It can continue and continue for thousands of years, probably hundreds of thousands of years. But now we have the opportunity to escape that wheel of samsara. And escaping that wheel of samsara is always right now, not any time in the future. Of course, not in the past, but never, ever in the future, ever. It's only right now in the present. Always. There's no other way. Now you have the best opportunity to escape this wheel of samsara. When you escape it, then you can do what you want to do. You'll have the freedom to do what you want to do. And experience joy in your work, in your activities, in your associations. And then always see the truth of everything that you're doing and see the truth of others. You see when they're not telling the truth, when they are telling the truth, when you're putting up a facade for others to think well of them, and then you can see the truth of them. But you never judge in the Bible. It's you need some shoes, and so you go to buy the shoes, the shoe that you want, that the soul has broken apart from the body of the shoe. So it's defective. And it's ideal, but I'm not going to buy that. I'm going to buy the shoe that's perfect, brand new condition, with no faults, with no flaws. So anything that isn't perfect, you reject, you reject, you reject, you reject, you reject. Doesn't mean you throw it away physically. It doesn't. What you do with it physically it's not important at all. What you do physically in spiritual realization is not important at all. What you do is not important at all for spiritual realization. Doing spiritual activities, spiritual work, a spiritual job, people telling you that this is Kriya Yoga, this is spirituality. Become a Vedic astrologer. Do something that's in line with your new philosophy of Kriya Yoga or spirituality. Change your life and do things that are spiritual. All completely, totally false advice. Completely false advice. Doesn't matter what you do physically. The saints, the realized sages, they all know this. They didn't put any uh, demands on themselves to change what they were doing. When they encountered their guru, the guru showed them where you should put your mind and what you should practice. And it's all within. It's nothing external. Ramakrishna had, and it's in the Gospel of Ramakrishna, he had some really bad alcoholics. He didn't tell them to stop drinking. And they wanted spiritual realization. And he said, you'll have spiritual realization. Keep coming here to see me. And he gave them practices to do. Every single person, every single disciple, he gave them a different practice. Because he knew what that disciple needed. He wasn't concerned about the alcohol. Many times they would come, not as a group, but the alcoholic devotee would come to see Ramakrishna, and he was totally inebriated, completely drunk. And the other disciples hated it. How can you get drunk and then come see your guru or your incarnation of God? Not disrespectful. Ramakrishna didn't mind at all. And somebody, if the devotee started to criticize this person and say, don't allow him to come, keep him out, Ramakrishna said, leave him alone. So he'll rise above that in due time. The alcoholism is nothing important. So he'll go beyond it because he's doing the spiritual practice that I gave him. He's coming to see me, so he's having satsang with me in the environment of reality, of truth, as an avatar. And then he's doing practices that avatar, that the guru personally prescribed for him, personally. And that he knew you. He knew you very well. And you knew him very well. And then he gave you a practice. So it has so much more energy, the practice, because it came directly from the God realized guru. It didn't come from a book. It didn't come from a group of people that associated with the practice of Kriya Yoga. It came directly from the enlightened guru. Makes a huge, huge difference. Big difference. It's like going from our big thing is to drive from Haldwani to Delhi. It's a big undertaking. It's not bad, but it's about 5, sometimes 6 hours. Lots of traffic, lots of bad roads. So it was kind of an ordeal for some people. I've done it. Some of us have done it so much that we don't even think about it. We just get in the cab and just drive to Delhi or drive to Haldwani. Never think about any of the discomforts. They're only discomforts if we think about them. So we've done it enough, we never even think about it. And then we're there. So suppose you're initiated in the highway before you. It's completely straight, clear, visibility is clear. The road is smooth. The road is maintained. And most importantly, there's no traffic. One of the most important things in Kriya Yoga, of course, it can't be stopped, is to not socialize with other people about Kriya Yoga. You can socialize with them because they all have the same heart desire of spiritual realization. But any association in regards to Kriya Yoga is always bad. unless the person you're talking with happens to be enlightened or God realized, and the conversation's completely different. But that's extremely rare. So the conversations are always dangerous. Association's always dangerous because you start talking about lots of different things. But they're all tied into Kriya Yoga because that's why you're together. And so you actually start to drift away from your initial clear path of going directly and smooth and quickly because there's no obstacles. And then obstacles start to be introduced through your conversations, things you hadn't thought about. For an example, just so you can follow my thought, I never thought about this ever, until I got the computer and then figured out how to go on Facebook. I didn't even know how to do it. And I started looking at all the Kriya Yoga groups. I didn't know. I thought they all must be beautiful. And I went on one, and they're talking about Yogananda's child that he got a disciple pregnant. And they had the name for the disciple, and they had pictures of his son. So I was introduced to that for the very first time after, this was 10 years ago. So I mean, after close to 40 years of association with Yogananda, without ever having any of that introduced at all. So then I had that thought, now for me, because I was already where I was, didn't mean anything to me. Then it was not even worth the discussion. It was like, so what? And there, people that were really devoted to Yogananda, they got angry, they got violent. Don't say such things. Don't spread these lies and rumors about our pristine guru. How dare you? We'll shut you down. We'll eliminate you. One Kriya yogi told me that he would nuke me. He would implode a nuclear weapon, blow me up. So they can get angry. And they would get angry at different opinions, especially if you discuss the particular group was the documented history of Yogananda, which is just really interesting, but totally, completely not important whatsoever. It's nothing to do with your Kriya Yoga practice at all superficial, external things. So Yogananda, if he impregnated this, actually her name was Kamala, is her name, and had a son. So what? Now he's not a divine guru? I mean, if it's true, he's not a divine guru. What does that external thing have to do with anything? If you're going inward into a higher state of consciousness, it has nothing whatsoever to do with it. So I'm going to read you a couple of things from this. Samhita. It goes into depth very clearly about the actual Kriya Yoga practice. Now, some of the descriptions here are true, though they're not spoken of the way that we speak. So I'll explain what he's saying. It's just the way things are experienced. Superficial things are experienced. So he's talking about the higher stages of pranayama. It actually speaks completely about Kriya pranayama in this chapter. Through that highest grade of pranayama, prana gets absorbed in the body. And even more than that, the body along with the posture gets elevated by that. Now that's completely true. If you're practicing Kriya Yoga, you start to experience that. You start to experience elevation of your body. Now, what does that mean? Well, your eyebrows go up, your eyes go up a little, your posture goes up a little, because there's an energy that's pulling you up, and it is affecting your physical body as well as your astral body, as well as you. So this is completely true. That's the highest grade of Kriya Pranayama. Next stage, I should describe it this stage. At this stage, there is a complete cessation of respiration, so that both the inhalation and exhalation are natural tendencies, which we know. To inhale and exhale is a natural tendency for us. We all do it. But what I do in breathing, you do also exactly the same. So that both the inhalation and exhalation are natural tendencies, yet their functions stop after the best Kriya Pranayama. Now, Yogananda says exactly the same thing. But worldly people think that it involves holding your breath, completely not understanding whatsoever because they had no experience. And they say, oh, then I need to hold my breath at that point of Kriya Pranayama. So much so that there's some teachers of Kriya Pranayama that teach you to hold your breath when doing some Kriyas. Completely dangerous, bad, not good. And has nothing to do with what's being taught. Well, I'll explain to you what they mean by sensation of breath. I've already taught you. If you're not putting this together, I'll explain it. So, when you're practicing the Hong Sa, put your awareness here. You don't put it here. You don't put it there. They put it here. Always put it there. Put your tongue in Ketri Mudra, or just put your tongue back and up. That elevates your energy. And with the incoming breath through the nose, you feel it coming through the nostrils, and then you feel it coming up here. And then you exhale, and you feel it coming from here. This is all with the lungs. And going out. And then you breathe in. Feel it coming in. Exhale. Feel it going out. Now, when you practice this mantra, you don't have to do Hong Sa. You don't have to mentally say Hong Sa. The only reason you're told to mentally say Hong and Sa is just because it helps you concentrate. It helps especially a worldly person to concentrate, because a worldly person, all their attention is directed outwards. All their experience is directed outwards. Now, even emotions are not inner tendencies or experiences. Emotions are external to what you are, to Atma, to the soul. Your thoughts are external. Your private thoughts, your private emotions are external. It's not inside you. It's all within the physical body and the brain of the physical body. The whole data center for your physical body, the whole nerves. And then your energy, prana, that comes from you as Atma, as soul, energizes the physical body. So an ignorant person who doesn't, that all their attention is directed outwards at the time of birth, because I've seen it happen when help to deliver babies. As they're being delivered, they're like pristinely inert, calm, peaceful. And then after they're given birth has happened, immediately the baby starts to wake up. Sometimes they have to be encouraged. In the U.S., it is just what they did. They pull the baby out with forceps, which is a terrible thing to do. And then they would spank the baby on the butt to get them to start breathing and breathing out and breathing in to start to energize the body, which is important after birth. But it happens naturally, and I've witnessed that energy going to work within that little human form, and you see it very clearly when the baby goes from just a little blue, flesh-colored, the little blue hint, a little purple hint, going into perfect pink. As all the heart is beating with the baby's own breath, not living with the sustenance of the mother, but on its own for the first time. And then the little body's energized. I told you, and I was young when this happened. My first child, Rama, which I helped with the birth, as soon as he came out, he got, of course, in this tiny little thing, and he got a full erection of his penis. And I saw it. It's really strange. That's the energy coming into the body. And then like a fountain, like a water fountain, he urinated. And water came out of his little tiny bladder, and I shot up really high as the body came to life, as it became energized. So we went through the same thing in our different ways, in that we were born as an external oriented human. Everything at that point was externally oriented. And I remember, think about your childhood. Go back as far as you can to think about as close as you can to your birth. And remember, everything you were doing was related to external things, your experience in the world. Am I comfortable? That's one of the most valuable things as human beings, is that we don't feel uncomfortable. We don't want to feel uncomfortable. We want to feel comfortable. And so we immediately get in a chair that's comfortable, or sit on the floor that's comfortable. We do something that's the most comfortable for us. We don't deliberately sit somewhere that is uncomfortable. We sit there and we find, well, it's not comfortable, when we move into something that is comfortable. So as humans with the human body, we're always looking for comfort. In Kriya Yoga, and then all the yogas going back thousands of years, all the saints that taught it, they said that disregard this feeling of need that you have to have comfort. Now, comfort doesn't mean luxury. It just means I don't want to experience any uncomfortable situation. And in fact, I'll do anything to not experience it. And if I experience it, I'm going to run away from it as fast as possible until I become comfortable. That's what animals do. We're not an animal. We're Atma, occupying a human body, which is very similar to an animal, all the tendencies. So everything is externally oriented. Everything. Unless you start a meditation practice. Now you could really contemplate. I remember my path to self-realization And I was just a young boy, starting to read the scriptures like the Gita, Upanishads, Vedas, Shankara. Uh, I would contemplate on what was being said. I would contemplate on it the whole day and the whole night. Waking up, falling asleep, I would go over and over and over what was said and try my best to understand. So that practice starts you on the path of inwardness because you're thinking of spiritual things, not spiritual activities, which is what a lot of people do. They're all doing spirit activities that are spiritual. What what activity can I do that's spiritual? People think I had so many worldly activities. I need spiritual activities. No, we don't. So we're completely externally oriented up until the time we start a meditation practice, given by somebody who really understands the purpose of meditation. It isn't to feel good. It isn't to feel comfortable. So the human being animal wants to feel good, wants to feel comfortable, but never can all the time. Ever. There's always something that comes up. And so we want to feel comfortable all the time. So we become interested in spirituality. Oh, this is how I can feel comfortable. It's not about self-realization for them. It's not about God realization. They play the part of someone who's interested in that, but their real interest is comfort. In yoga and Kriya Yoga, there should be no interest in comfort, just the opposite. So before I was introduced to any Mahatma, I was thinking about these things as a young boy reading the Gita. And it explains in the Gita, discomfort is not a bad thing. The discomfort has a lot of advantages. So that was contrary to everything I'd heard from parents, relatives, because I saw them all seeking comfort. I saw that all humans were wanted comfort. No, I'm being told comfort's not a bad thing. That meant discomfort's not a bad thing. And comfort also is not a bad thing. That both are unimportant. So experience some discomfort, but learn how to endure it. And in learning how to endure it, you learn to disassociate from it. Okay, I can be in well, we went to this is the last time I was here, I think. We went to an ashram of a person that I knew way, way back, over half a century ago. And he still lives here. And he has an ashram just up here in the mountain. So a group of us went up there. And being here in the mountains, I suppose, I guess we're closer to the sun. So the sun rays, I know this is in where I lived up in the mountains where people would ski. You can get really sunburned and you can hurt your eyes because of the sun, even though it's freezing cold. And so we went up there, we got out, spotted the ashram, and a Mahatma came out, and then the manager of the ashram came out, and we started speaking with them. And of course, the conversation was lively because they were interested in us because they were just, it seemed like they had been there alone for a long time. And we were interested in them. So we forgot about all discomfort. We were all standing up, and it just happened to be where the sun was shining the brightest. I wasn't even aware of it. I was interested in the conversation. I was interested in where we were. I didn't even think about it. I'm uncomfortable. It felt very comfortable because we were talking about a topic that I was highly interested in. And so one person said, "Let's get out of the sun." The worst attitude. When you go to visit somebody especially the Mahatma, and you're seeking comfort, the Mahatma's standing there in the sun. Of course, you're going to stand in the sun. You're not going to say, let's move somewhere else. So this is seeking comfort. Become unshackled with that. When I understood the unimportance of being uncomfortable, I went through some suggestions that were in the scriptures. I still remember going out into the backyard and collecting a bunch of rocks and bringing them into my bedroom and putting them on the floor, and then taking a sheet and putting the sheet on top of the rocks so they would all poke into me so that I wouldn't sleep deeply. So I could, throughout the night, I could stay conscious and I could meditate throughout the night. That was the purpose. And of course, to sit. It was said somewhere to light a candle and then put your attention on the flame of the candle. And I thought that makes a lot of sense. And so my meditation, I sat in my bedroom, I lit a candle, and I put my concentration on the flame of the candle. It is said to do that for a good amount of time. So I put my attention on it. And of course, my body became uncomfortable, even as a boy. Sitting in one position on the floor, that's something I wasn't used to doing. And so I sat there for a long time. After an hour, my body started to feel uncomfortable. I just dismissed it. Kept my attention on the flame. Because it said in the scripture, keep your attention on the flame. It said nothing about, unless your body becomes uncomfortable, then of course, take your attention off the flame. It didn't say that. It said put your attention on the flame. So as a boy with no experience, I thought that's what it meant. I didn't know. I never had the thought from others, usually, that take your attention off the flame and address your legs that are hurting, or your bum that is hurting, or your neck, and stretch and change position. That was never introduced in the scripture. Scripture said, put your attention on the flame. And so I kept my attention on the flame for, I think that first time, 2.5 hours. And I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot about concentration. I learned how the mind is like a monkey. It doesn't want to sit still. It wants to be engaged in activity. So as spiritual persons, there's the thing that many do, and I've done it myself, and I continue to do it, is we go and go find ancient temples. Temples that have Shakti, the presence of Shakti. And we seek him out, and we do this because we enjoy it. And we're here. We really don't have too much to do, other than our work that we do. So, yeah, it's nice to get out and drive and go to Babaji's cave, for example, or go to Jageshwar, go to Rishikesh. These things, have these experiences. You can go to Babaji's cave, for example, and a lot of people go. They've been told by others that there's a tremendous Shakti in Babaji's cave. Tremendous. Just go there and you'll feel the energy. And some people go there and all they experience is their own thoughts. Their own thoughts are what's Brahma. They don't feel anything. And I don't dismiss that at all. Of course you don't feel anything if you're involved with your thoughts, because you brought your thoughts up the mountain with you. You didn't leave them on the base of the mountain and go up without your thoughts. You brought them with you. So then you go into the cave, but you're not going into the cave alone. You're going in with your thoughts. And so that's what happens. So when we go to, I'll just use Jageshwar as an example. when we go into the main temple, all your thoughts are just gone. All your thoughts about the world are gone. Because you're in a cave-like environment, and everything is centered on the murti in the temple, which is a Shiva lingam. So that's where your attention is. And then the holy environment that surrounds it. You're not thinking about all your favorite thoughts that you brought with you, because you're completely disconnected from it. And I experience this something peculiar every time I go to that particular temple, is I become possessed. Now, a lot of people in India, especially, and of course in other places, they talk about possession. That I'm possessed by a spirit, and I have to go to a guru to get unpossessed, to have him drive the spirit away. I become possessed. It's a fact. It's always a great thing. Because what I become possessed by is holy, is pure, is divine. And it's definitely the possession. Ramakrishna spoke of this many, 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 many times about his being possessed. And it's a peculiar feeling because you're no longer in control of your body. This divine spirit is taking control of your body and also taking control of your perception. So this divine spirit elevates your perception itself, and you're just going along for the witnessing, for the experience. So possession by the divine is a good thing. Possession by an evil spirit is a bad thing. And just to chat on this a little bit, it's unrelated to what I'm talking about, but to be possessed by a bad spirit is not a common thing. You have to be a really, really a low soul. Your consciousness has to be really, really in the dirt, be possessed by the evil spirit. Now you can go to various places and experience evil spirits that occupy a place, for example, but you're not affected. If you do just even a little, just a little Kriya, as Krishna, if you just do a little yoga, you'll be saved from countless sufferings and delusions. So if you're meditating every day, there's no way ever a bad spirit would ever possess you or control your thoughts. It's not possible. But it's not uncommon that people go to a guru to have the spirit removed, that they're possessed by an evil spirit. And of course, the guru, I don't know, but I suppose from what I've seen that the guru dismisses, kicks the evil spirit out, and then the person feels relief. Just put meditation into your life. If you're possessed, I understand that the spirit has some control over your mind and thought, but you can repeat the name of God, and that spirit won't be able to stay connected with your body. Just saying the name of God, God will come to you, whether you realize it or not. And these evil spirits can't be in the same place. Now, in some instances, it would actually be beneficial to the bad spirit for you to give it a spiritual experience. So this is my personal belief, is that if I was possessed by a spirit, it would be a good thing. It would be a good spirit. because my mind only thinks seriously about God. It thinks about the world, but it's nothing really serious. My real seriousness is in God, which dispels all negativity, anything that could cause you harm. So he goes on to say the comfortable retention, now comfortable is an important word, of air without exhalation and inhalation is called Kavalya Kambaka Pranayama. Kavalya Kambaka Pranayama. And what does that mean? Wouldn't you need a guru to explain this to you? Of course you would. People would read that, and I know what they would say. They come up with all sorts of their own ideas of what that means. What it means, I've showed you this many, many times, and I've taught you this at the time of initiation. You're breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So at first, the breath is the priority. So it has some strength. So you feel the breathing in, you feel the power of it. And then you feel the exhalation, you feel the inhalation. You feel that as substantive. That as you continue with this mantra, this actualization mantra, not just repeating syllables, but actualization mantra, your breath starts to slow down. It becomes less and less. And because your thoughts are connected to your breath, and they are connected to your breath, if you change your breath, you're changing your thoughts. So as the breath starts to become very calm, the mind becomes very calm. And then if you continue after that, you achieve the state of Kavalya Kambaka Pranayama. The pranayama is the in and out, the in and out. That's what he's referring to as the pranayama. Not the Kriya pranayama in the Sushumna, but this is the Kriya. This is a pranayama. And then what happens is you stop breathing. And this is my experience. And it's completely comfortable. It's amazingly comfortable because you're no longer dependent on the lungs. And you could suspend all of your physical animations because this state of Kambaka, Kavalya Kambaka Pranayama is so pleasant because the weight of the body is gone, the distractions of the mind is gone, and you're resting in peace. Most people haven't practiced the Hangsa pranayama long enough to experience this. If you practice it really energetically, meaning with desire to practice it regularly,
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. It looks like an issue with the router.
You will naturally.
So try restarting them. Unplug both of them, then plug the router back in. Wait 30 seconds. Once the router is back on and connected to the internet, plug in the Echo device.
Yeah, so you'll naturally experience Kavalya Kambaka Pranayama. It'll just happen, and you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's not a big thing. It's not a dramatic shift. It's not fireworks going off. It's just a transition into a much higher state of consciousness. It's an easy, calm transition, and it isn't a transition of miles or kilometers. It's a transition of consciousness is always a small step. It's just a little micro step of your awareness. And then you find I'm no longer dependent on the breath. And if you are doing um, Khetri Mudra. In Khetri Mudra, if you do Khetri Mudra with meditation, and you do it, your tongue is stretched sufficiently to where you can do it comfortably without any tension. There is fluid. People say that the mouth is full of fluid. Well, some of it is from the body, but some of it is referred to as nectar, and it truly is nectar. It comes from the astral world. And the energy, the Shakti that comes from the astral world comes down through the brain. It goes into the brain, then it comes out through the brain as little drops of sweet, salty nectar. And that sustains the body. That nourishes the body directly from God, not with food. So if you did a real serious meditation, like I do myself, you'll experience this. You'll experience, I don't need breath, but I also don't need food. I'm Atma. I'm not dependent on the physical body. It isn't the experience and the transition to consciousness, which becomes permanent, is not hard. It just requires that you meditate regularly the way that you were instructed to. So he goes on, if a person accomplishes retention of air along with exhalation and inhalation, that is called Shakti Kumbhaka. One should daily practice this process. You should do it daily. So imagine once you achieve this, every day when you sit to meditate, you go into that Kumbhaka. The Kumbhaka pranayama, you go into that place where you no longer have to have breathing for air. If you hold your breath long enough, it becomes extremely uncomfortable. Somebody in fighting, there's a lot of fighting techniques that just involve cutting off your air supply, and you literally subdue the opponent because you know how to move quickly to get your arms in position or your legs in position to cut off their oxygen. And if you cut off their oxygen long enough, they'll pass out. They won't die; they'll just pass out. But it's real uncomfortable not taking in oxygen. I would spend a lot of time in the ocean, go diving just with a snorkel. And so if you're down under the ocean long enough without an air tank, you start to become painful, uncomfortable because you can't breathe. And then you quickly come up to the top. You're just snorkeling, not diving. Then you breathe. Now, similar to this, when I had quadruple heart surgery, which means they replace all four primary arteries that go to the heart. They're essential for living, and they replaced all four of those. But they had to disconnect my heart from my body, and then hook my body up to a machine that would beat for me to keep the body alive. So they had to completely stop the heart. It's a long, hard surgery. And so you're under anesthesia for a long time. And in my experience, when I woke up, the first thing I did, because I wake up from the anesthesia, is a horrible feeling of suffocating. And it's real. When you are suffocated, you can't breathe. I could just see blurry. I could see doctors around me, anesthesiologists, I suppose. And they see the distress you're in, so they direct you to say, breathe. And also let it out. Because you feel restricted that you can't let it out. Everything that's accumulated in your system, you have to let that out. And then you can breathe, and then you're comfortable. So not being dependent on breathing is a big accomplishment. It's the holy accomplishment. It's the high state of consciousness accomplishment. I can do it extremely easy now, even without doing any cruise, whenever I want to. And it's a very, very pleasurable feeling, because you're no longer being dictated to how you feel because of how the body feels. I mean, why? Think about it. Why, as Atma, is it as powerful as Atman is, and as pure as Atman is, why is it being kicked around by the demands of this physical body? So the body isn't operating 100% for whatever reason, and so you, as Atma, you have to suffer? No, we don't. The people experienced all the connections of Earth, all the restrictions of living on Earth, this planet, all the complexities of discomfort and suffering because of breath. Because of breath and mind. The mind, remember, is connected to breath. Only for that reason. So we think, well, if I just change my situation on the planet, then I'm going to be secure and I'm going to be happy. And so people think that, and they're taught that. So you go through great effort to get in the best position of life you can. So you get the best education you can, so you can get the best job that you can. Ideally, something that you enjoy. So you can be a high earner to have everything that you want, and then that'll be happiness. And then you get married, higher happiness. And then you have children, higher happiness. And this is the plan that's mapped out for you. And some parents and some families, aunts, uncles, grandparents, you have to do this. And they tell you every day, why don't you have a great job? Why aren't you married? Every day. Why aren't you a high earner? Look at so-and-so. He's a high earner. He has a great job. He has a great wife. He has children. You need to accomplish these things. It's all because we're connected here on Earth. It's because of our breath in our mind. Our breath and our mind is what connects us to this planet. So if you can learn through Kriya Pranayama, especially Kumbhaka Kriya Pranayama, which is what Kriya Pranayama is. It isn't taught that way because either people don't know or they think, well, that's unachievable. I haven't achieved it, so how is my student going to achieve it? It's such a difficult thing. And of course, Yogananda can do it, but we can't. Even though Yogananda said, what I have done, you also can do. Jesus said the same thing. So of course, you can also do it. You are Atma. You're extremely powerful. All of you are extremely powerful and perfectly pure. You can never take that purity away. The purity, the impurity is just on the surface. All the little things that you see externally from you. Of course, the thoughts are attached to that because the thoughts are attached, come from the mind, and they are attached to the breath. So your breath and mind is attached to the world you feel. Oh, I feel effect of everybody's concern about how I should live my life. And especially if I'm failing at it, I feel so bad. In family gatherings, or I just feel bad myself. That's all just worldliness. It's the mind and the breath. So suppose you become proficient at Kambaka Kriya Pranayama, and your family sphere, it's the holiday, and the holidays are when all of the relatives bring up different things about you. It doesn't have to be what I said about marriage or high earner. It could be all sorts of things. And then you are feeling the effects of the world, which is pleasure. It doesn't last. And then which is discomfort and no pleasure, which also doesn't last. And people think that person has good karma because all the good things, yet he has or she has so many good things in life. So they have good karma. And the other person has so many bad things in their life. He has bad karma. This is what people say and believe. It's all attached to their mind and their breath. If a person can change their mindset and control their breathing, it can be a successful person. And then there's all these books of how to succeed in the world. So many. And discourses by real accomplished people on the stage in auditoriums and teach you how to succeed. And a lot of them say that it's connected to your breath. It's connected to how you think. And this is how you can change the way you're thinking negative into thinking positive. And this is the path of success for you. Most all of them say that. And it's true. But my business was in the wealthiest part, the most successful part of Atlanta was called Buckhead. And so a lot of very accomplished people were coming to the shop. So I spent a lot of time with them. And I saw right away that all of them were positive thinkers. They would not accept failure. If difficulties arose, they would continue on. They would never be discouraged. If they failed at something, they'd pick up the pieces and they would try again in a smarter way. They never gave up. So this is how the success in the world is. The formula is the same as the success in Kriya Yoga. Give it all your heartfelt attention, and don't associate with any negative thoughts. Your negative thoughts continue only because of your association with them, your continued association. These negative thoughts that your mind has, you become obsessed with them. You start to see that as that's my identity. I'm a terrible person. It's my identity. It's your own thoughts about yourself. No, completely not true. It's not your identity. Your mind doesn't even know what your identity is. Everybody that's floating on the world is living with their mind, and nobody knows what's going on. They have lots of ideas. In the U.S., it's Jesus. The whole purpose of life is to live for Jesus. And then after death, he'll go to heaven with Jesus. And so that's what they believe. And if you don't have Jesus, you're going to find out when you die that you're going to go to hell. Just somebody a couple of weeks ago, I don't know why, they were in the Kriya Yoga for everyone, for the Babaji Kriya Yoga for everyone group. Because he said the most horrible thing. He said, it was just a simple post. There wasn't anything challenging. But he just saw that I was practicing yoga. And those that were liking my post were being led in the wrong direction. And he said, yoga is the work of the devil. And by doing any kind of yoga, you become demonic. And he said, you'll see when you die, the demons will all be coming to take you down to hell because you're practicing yoga. A lot of people in the United States think that it's just not a one-off with this person. A lot of people think that. And so when you're confronted with it, it's good to be confronted with it, because then you start to realize, oh gosh, people have all sorts of thoughts. Am I going to associate with people with all their thoughts? Am I going to go out of my way to socialize with them? And then also meditate every day for self-realization, God realization? Not a good idea. It's so contrary. All of it is so contrary to what you're trying to accomplish. So Ramakrishna and all the others, they say the very best thing you can do is keep company with a saint, with Mahatma. A saint and a Mahatma isn't someone who wears saffron clothes at all. It's just clothes. Someone has purity of heart and purity of mind, elevated consciousness. That's the Mahatma. That's the saint. If you can find one to associate with as much as possible, that's a clear path to realization and a clear path to a spiritual life after death. And if you do reincarnate, you start where you left off. Anybody at the time of death, whatever your consciousness is, when you're reborn, that's the consciousness you're going to start off with. So this is important to contemplate on. As you accomplish higher states of consciousness with your Kriya Yoga practice, whatever level of consciousness that you're at, that you've accomplished in those years, at the time of death, that's what you lead with. So wherever you go, you have that state, you have that higher state of consciousness. So you'll go to higher realms of purity. There's many realms to live in. Yogananda said that it's if a person's really attached to the world, they can be reborn immediately if he does. You just go into a state of slumber and then find themselves in the womb again, ready to start fresh and new, because their desires are so strong. But if you attain any level of spiritual consciousness at the time of death, you go to divine, beautiful places. And Yogananda said it can be 200 years, or it's as much as 2,000 years. But then you are reincarnated because you have the earthly vasanas, impressions. Okay, let's see what the questions are. Okay, so personal message. Maybe just posting pictures in the WhatsApp and what that's about. I may have answered this one earlier. Does the individual self exist after realization? Yeah, absolutely. And it's yourself. What you are right now. And the question, well, what does self-realization feel like? Everything in the world is the same, but you just perceive it differently. You perceive it in reality how it is. So you see that everything external is unimportant. It doesn't mean that you stop interacting with the things, because there's a lot of things that are enjoyable and that you enjoy. And so you'll continue to enjoy the things in the world that you like to do, or the people you like to be with. You'll continue with that. Nobody will know that you have realization. You won't broadcast it. You won't tell other people. But you'll be existing in a higher vibration. That's what they call the magnetism of a guru. Because the magnetism isn't because they have perfect white teeth and beautiful spiritual clothing and pretty long black hair and magnetic gaze. It isn't because of that. It's because of something unseen. It's none of those things. Because anybody can act like that. Actors act like it. People act like it. I see people acting like it all the time. It isn't real. But the real thing doesn't require any of that paraphernalia or the magnetism. So people will be affected by magnetism. And they can be affected in two ways. They can be really upset about it. It makes them uncomfortable because they can't figure it out. And it makes them real uncomfortable. And then others, they're attracted to it. It appeals to them. They're attracted to it, but they don't know what it is. That's what happens. And then you have control over your body, and you have control of your mind when you have realization. So it doesn't mean that there's no more discomfort for you, or that only good things happen to you and bad things don't happen to you. No, not at all. It's your understanding of what's happening to you. You realize that there's no reason for it to have any effect on it. So suppose there's a flood, and you get out in time, and the flood takes your house away. There's some traumatic event like that. I had something similar happen just right after I bought that house. I guess about 3 months later, a tornado came and destroyed almost the whole town, and took the roof off of my house. So whatever you have, nature. If you look at nature videos, just tornadoes, for example, not even cyclones or hurricanes or floods. You can see how devastating, how your whole life that you built can be destroyed in a matter of minutes. It's how powerful nature is. Or we've been having fires here in the jungle. The house that's real close to the jungle, the fire was there at one time, and it threatened to burn the whole house down. And people do have their houses burned down. Your loved ones, your relatives, can be taken away just like you can at any second, any minute. Your whole life can change at any minute. But it can also change for the good at any minute. So don't think don't think negative. Don't think that it's always bad things. Your life can change in a minute in a really good way. This happened to me. Nothing bad has happened to me. To say, oh, you had a dozen heart attacks and you had quadruple bypass surgery. It's such a bad thing. There's nothing bad about it. It was a really interesting experience. I learned a lot from it. But there's nothing bad about it. I didn't suffer. I didn't suffer at all. They say, well, you had cancer. It must be really bad karma. No, it wasn't a bad thing. And I learned a tremendous amount from that I wouldn't have known if I hadn't gone through the experience. So I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from everything. So you have that attitude that everything that comes to you isn't because of karma. It's because of the world. It's the way the world is. Everything is changing all the time. It's not related to you. It's like people that have all these concerns about the world, and believe me, and you know also, people are real concerned about the world and themselves and the world. It's life and death. It's like, we'll use the Ganges as an example. You go to the Ganges, and the Ganges is always flowing. It's usually pretty fast. And, well, I'm going to make a home on the Ganges. I'm going to get all the tools that you need to build a house, and I'm going to build it right there in the moving water. Or you can just be a child and pretend you're building something. You put your finger in the water and you outline, draw a picture of a house, and you do it like you're going to do a blueprint for a house. The river is flowing all the time. You can't build anything permanent there. In this world, you can't build anything that's permanent. And it moves as fast as the Ganges does. Because I'm older than you, I have a different perspective. Because I was young my whole entire life. Now I'm not young anymore. And I never thought that would happen. Because I was young for well over half a century. Half a century plus. Never even knew that anything like that would happen to myself. And it did. So I can look at life and I can think, gosh, it seems like I've been here forever. Forever. And then the other is like the real perspective I see is it's all just a flash. Everything, all my experiences, I can think of all the experiences together as a flash. It's how fast it goes by. And of course, our perspective as a human being, our life goes by relatively slowly. Get up in the morning. I got up this morning at 4 a.m. and it's a long day. Long day. A lot of things are done in the course of the day, and it's an easy pace. But a lot of things are accomplished in the course of one day. It's a lot of time, 24 hours. Especially if you only sleep for a couple hours. There's a lot of time in a day. So it seems like we have a lot of time, but it's moving fast. In reality, it's moving extremely fast. When you're in whatever astral plane you're in, that you're living in, before you're reborn into the warm up of your new mother, you think of the best way to convey this. There's a preparation for rebirth, as there's a preparation for anything. There is a preparation for your birth. Just like there's a preparation for your birth in this world, people in the world, mother, father, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, grandparents, they're all expecting you to be born. And for 9 months, they're really, really interested in you and real concerned about you, very concerned, ready to welcome you into this world. We're oblivious to it because we're in the womb. We only start to realize that as we get older and get some experience. But the same way, when you die, there's a lot of people that are loved ones that are expecting you. It isn't a surprise to them. They know when you're going to die and when you're going to come to the realm that you live in, and that's where because they're deeply associated with you. That's where they are. So there's a lot of expectation for you to be born into whatever astral realm you go into. There's no talk of death in the astral world. There's no thought of death. There's no talk of death. So they see it. They see when you're coming. It's a homecoming, big celebration. It isn't that you died. It's that your body, your instrument, your vehicle that you were using is broken or it's just worn out. It's not death. But the perspective of people on Earth is so low, they think it's a horrible, terrible thing. Terrible tragedy. Death is a horrible thing. No, it doesn't. It was such a horrible thing. Why does it happen to every single person? So if you get one thing out of what I've been saying for 2 hours, it is practice. Extremely important. Even if you, especially when you don't feel like it. If you practice when you don't feel like it, you've won a big battle. Runners, I like watching runners, especially in track and field, because when I was young, I used to run, not in track and field, but just run. If you run as fast as you can long enough, you start to really suffer because you're not bringing enough oxygen into your lungs, and your muscles are exhausted. You start to get lactic acid buildup. It's real uncomfortable. So you can quit. Wouldn't that be something if the athletes in the Olympics just right in the middle of their run, they just stop and just walk off the track? That would be pretty sorry. But so when things get difficult, you don't give up. You don't stop. You push on with all your strength, with all your attention, all of your focus. And then apathy, in other words, well, I don't really care about meditating anymore. I'm apathetic towards my meditation. I was enthusiastic. Now I just don't really care. And everybody goes through that. That's the most important time to continue with it. If you stop, then that's where you're going to be. Most likely at the time of death, and that's where you're going to go. But if you continue, you'll see that was the feeling of apathy towards meditation. It was really nothing. Why did I listen to that? Why did I stop meditating? Because of that. You see that it was just nothing at all. You have a different perspective of it. So apathy is nothing. Like, I know it's very unpleasurable. It's not pleasurable because you're dedicated to meditating every day, and then you feel apathetic. It's a contradiction. It feels real uncomfortable. That's the best time you have to continue in a relatively short period of time. You won't be apathetic anymore. Because through the practice, your consciousness starts to elevate, and it continues to elevate, and that feeling of apathy goes away. That's it. Always does. It's not a permanent condition, but we treat everything that we're experiencing now as a permanent state. You see, this has always happened. Teenagers, boy and girl, fall in love, and like deeply in love, as a teenager can do. And something happens to the girl or the boy, and it's the end of the world for them. They want to kill, or they do kill themselves because they don't want to live without the one that they love, and so they commit suicide. Not knowing, we know that if you continue life in a positive way, sure, you're going to grieve, but if you continue to move forward despite the suffering, you're going to experience life as totally new life, completely different than what the life that you have now that you want to commit suicide in. So many things will happen, and your perspective of that relationship will just be a memory. I've had a lot of friendships with people that were really good friendships. You could be honest with them; they could be honest with you. You're friends, and then something happens in the relationship. Usually, they just become interested and involved in something else, or it's dramatic, and you don't see each other anymore. And so there can be a lot of instances like that where you're really involved in something. It's the love of your life, like your work. My work, for example, I extremely love my work. I thought I'd be doing that forever. I'm not doing it anymore. Am I lost? Because the one thing that I enjoyed the most doing in the world, I don't do anymore? No, not at all. When that day came, and it was a particular day. It was a Sunday. And I knew that I didn't know that was my last day, but I felt that this is my last day. It was a perfect day at my work. Perfect way to end my whole entire experience of 30 years, my involvement of 30 years. And I just walked away from it without even a thought. No problem at all. Because it was time to move on. So everything of the world is not important. So everything that I've said now for 2 hours and 3 minutes is everything of the world is unimportant. People that you love and you care about, that is important. But don't involve that. Don't think that that's dependent. Your relationship with somebody you care about is dependent on the world. It isn't. It's a love relationship. And the world can't separate you as you get higher consciousness. So all your progress is accomplished through your sadhana practice. And of course, your association with your guru, if you have that, if you're fortunate enough to have that, because that is not going to be forever. Your guru won't be embodied forever. You can continue with the love relationship, but the physical relationship ends. The body relationship ends. Because the love relationship continues. So you begin to love through your memories, through your thoughts. And thoughts are things that connect you to other people. And your feelings, the love itself, it stays connected to other soul, feels that, knows that, enjoys that. So the relationship doesn't know, even though the body does. That only happens to people who have good, pure, loving relationships. If you don't have a pure, beautiful relationship, it isn't going to happen. Okay, that's it. I'll see you, unless I see you in person, I'll see you next weekend. Okay?
I'm good at
Yeah.
that.
That's
Oh, thank you.
that's that's